Hey, thanks for tuning in. It's the hottest day of the year, so far, I should say so far, and humid too, especially since we live so close to the water. And that's inspired me to make my family a chicken dinner featuring some nice, bright, sunny Mediterranean flavors. Now, full disclosure, I've never actually seen the Mediterranean. I have been to Europe, including Italy, but through some egregious oversight, I somehow missed seeing the Med. I have seen the Adriatic, but I don't think that really counts. Anyway, now that T and I have Nova, our daughter, it's all that more complicated and expensive to head over that way. So we probably won't be seeing the Med anytime soon. But at least we can enjoy this dish and fantasize in the meantime. So what I'm doing here is preparing the marinade for the chicken, using the world's tiniest mortar and pestle that our very kind neighbors loaned to me, because we still don't have one of our own. I've loaded 2 small twigs worth of rosemary, which I hit with some salt. Then I give it a pounding. I'm only trying to bruise the leaves so that they release their essential oil. That should do it. In this baking dish, I've got a half dozen cloves of garlic and a small handful of fresh thyme, which I've already given the mortar and pestle treatment to previously. I'll add the smashed rosemary, and maybe move this cutting mat so it's easier to see. I'll sprinkle in a little more salt. Now, all these things already got some salt when they were in a mortar, but I'm not worried about oversalting because proportionally, there's going to be a lot of chicken. Next, I've got this lemon, from which I need a couple strips of zest. I'm going to do this off screen because this lemon's giving me a fight. Success. So in they go. There might be a little extra pith on one of those slices, but that's okay. It's not going into the actual dish. Now I can add a good glug of olive oil and swirl everything around to get those flavors melting. The last step in this process is to add the chicken. I'm using, as usual, bone-in and skin-on chicken thighs. This is my preferred cut because it's the most forgiving and, at least in my opinion, the best tasting. I've already trimmed these thighs of any loose skin and excess fat, so now all I have to do is throw them in and give them a good massage in oil. Once I'm done, I can spread them out in a single layer. This is where using a baking dish really helps. Then cover it with some cling film and throw it in the fridge until I'm ready to cook tomorrow. I'll see you then. Alright, I'm back. Before I get to cooking the chicken, I want to get going with a sauce. To fit with the theme, I'm going to make a riff on tzatziki. It won't be authentic tzatziki, and you'll see why as I make it, but that's okay because this entire dish is only inspired by the Mediterranean rather than authentically Mediterranean. Like real tzatziki though, my sauce is going to have a bit of garlic. Just 1 clove, I'm not looking to blow anyone's head off. I'll give it a good mince. And into a bowl it goes. Next up, I've got cucumber. I'm only going to need about 1/3 of it for this dish. I'll split it in half. And this is where my sauce goes off the rails a bit. Instead of grating the cucumber and squeezing the water out like you normally would with a tzatziki, I'm just going to run a spoon down the middle to take out the seeds and pulp. That's where a lot of the water in the cucumber is anyway, and for the purpose of this dish, it's perfectly fine. After that, it's just a matter of cutting the cucumber into smaller pieces. To spare you having to watch my less than stellar knife skills, I'm just going to fast forward through this part to the end. There. All done. Next, I've got some fresh mint. I'll pick off the leaves, then gather them up into a tight little bundle and slice through them. I'll do the same with some dill. Then I'll take the lemon, from which I removed some peel earlier, and take off the rest of the zest. Then in goes a bit of salt. And then I go off the rails again and add sour cream. I like the sour cream in this because even though it's not as thick and rich as yogurt, it's got that nice bright tang. 4 heaped tablespoons ought to do it. Finally, it's back to that lemon. I just need to get a little bit of juice, and that's it for the sauce. Aside from giving it a taste, of course. Okay, it's time to get back to the chicken. As I pull out the plastic wrap, the unbelievable scent of herbs and garlic and lemon just completely fills the room. It's wonderful. This is going to be so good. Now, from this point, there's a couple of different ways to proceed with cooking the chicken. It can go into the oven and roast for a bit, but as I said at the start of this video, it's really hot today, and I do not want to heat up the house even more by turning on the oven. So choice number 2 is to take it outside and put it on the grill, which would be great, except we left our barbecue at my parents' house. So that leaves choice number 3. Sear it in a pan. And that starts by laying the chicken, all of it, into a cold pan. That may seem counterintuitive, but what I want to do is bring the temperature up gradually so that the fat can render out before the meat cooks through completely. And as for laying them in all at once, overcrowding will not be a problem. Because here we are after about 6 or 7 minutes. You can see how much fat has melted away, and you can see how beautifully brown the chicken's getting. I'm going to give this another minute, then I'll take out the thighs, drain off most of that fat, and put the chicken back in, but flipped over. Look at how golden brown that skin is. And the aroma. I don't usually crow too much about my own cooking because I'm just a home cook, but it's pretty amazing. All that's left to do now is leave this alone until the chicken registers 165F internal temperature, and we're done. And here it is, my Mediterranean-inspired chicken. It's sitting on a bed of pilaf, which obviously wasn't recorded, mainly because I only have one camera. But I'll probably do an episode on pilaf somewhere down the line. A dollop of tzatziki, not tzatziki, can go on a side, and this plate is done. Admittedly, this is a very humble and simple-looking dish, but it's made with care and packed with really good flavor, so I know my family will love it. And if you end up trying it, I think yours will too. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this recipe and that it's maybe inspired you to try making your own Mediterranean-inspired dishes. Or you could just make this one. As always, comments are welcome, and likes and subscribes are appreciated. I'll see you next week.